So this is lesson 3 of chord theory, and now we are talking about all the chords that violate the rules that we talked about in the first lesson. I guess that's a sign of a good education, is that when you find out that all that you learned a year ago is useless. And now real music happens when you just put notes where they belong and don't care about all these harmony rules and scale rules and chord rules. So some people did that, and then they made a rule for that as well. So it's ironic, but yeah, we'll show you that. So listen to this sound. It's textbook unpleasant, right? It has to be, because of simple mathematics. You can listen to the actual beat frequencies here because they're so close together. And this is not a good harmony. This is not a complete harmony. But what if I put this in perspective? What if I put this inside? What happened? Are you able to notice the difference between this and this? Okay, this is the simple minor version of F. Now what I'm going to do is put this note here, which conflicts with this also and this also. Gives you this sound. This doesn't sound bad. In fact, this has the right amount of pain or emotion or suspense that a minor is actually supposed to have. But this is adding more perspective to that chord. Why? Okay, so sometimes this feeling, this beat frequency, this inharmonicity, this discordant harmony is needed. Sometimes it sounds good. And that is exactly the principle of having the others, is that sometimes you have chords which are not on paper harmonic, but put in a certain set of sounds, put into perspective, they sound good. And that is when we come to things like suspended second, suspended fourth, added second, added sixth, added fifth flat. All of these are names which should not scare you, because now you know what all of these mean. So a suspended, let me come to the first class of chords, which is the suspended. Remember what we talked about here and here? These are suspended chords. So why the term suspended? First of all, you know why suspended 2 or suspended 4th. It's because this is the second note from this root, and here it's the 4th note from this root. But why suspended? Suspended comes because of the actual function of these chords. I mean, it's not set in stone what function they should serve, but again, when these chords were first used, they were used as a transition or as a resting stop before bringing back this suspended note to its actual destination, which is the third. So that is how these chords were used. They were used like this. Rather than just playing, I can show you an example in an arrangement. We'll see a lot of suspended in this arrangement, like see? This is an added fourth, because the 4th note from the G is added here along with the major. Why? It lends more perspective instead of just playing. You're playing something like that was the use of these chords, to transition and give a sort of suspense before the actual note is played. So the 4th is suspended and then released to come back to the 3rd. That is why the term suspended. Same with the second. Now what about the additions? What about playing the major or playing the whole chord, the textbook chord, the correct chord, as to say, and adding these notes, these forbidden notes on them? How will they work? So it's all about where you use them. For example, if you're using them within the third and the fourth, the third and the root, then it becomes an added second. But if you use it in the next octave, so it does not clash with either of these notes, then it becomes an added ninth. Notice how this note is far away and therefore will not violate the rules of harmony, that the beat frequency should not be noticeable. So these sounds will not come. Or you have something like this, or a minor added ninth. So notice the difference between the added ninth and the added second. It's the same note in a different octave, but since if you put it in the higher octave, it does not interfere, as in it does not create a discernible beat frequency with the other notes. This will sound more pleasant, and this has more turmoil. Because of this sound. Then you have chords in which the fifth is completely gone. There are chords where there is no fifth. For example, this is called a diminished chord. Again, the name does not matter as long as you know what is actually there in the chord. This is a diminished chord. So why is it called a diminished chord? Is because the fifth is diminished to its flatted version, the tivrama, the flatted fifth. The chord is supposed to be this, but we are playing this. Again, why? Notice how the sound is completely different. Sometimes you may require this kind of sound. This is called a diminished chord. And there is no fifth in this. However, there are two minor intervals. This to this. And this is also a minor interval. So this does not have the fundamental first fifth, but it still is following the rules. The only reason why this is not used very frequently is because of the fundamental first fifth harmony being absent. And you could add another third after this, and then another after this, and this is a very complete chord. You have both the roots. So this is actually a very symmetric chord. This is just a successive minor third intervals. This is called a diminished added seventh. Actually, it's called a diminished added sixth or a diminished seventh. Doesn't matter, again, the names, as long as you know what's in the chord. So all of these are the outliers, the other chords, which are only used in transitions or from transitioning from one mood of a song to the other mood, you know. And sometimes, and if you want to transition to maybe the minor here, so you can do something like. So what was this? This is an augmented, because it is a major, but the fifth is augmented. It's promoted. What is this? This is two major intervals put together. Again, you can complete this by adding the root. This is an augmented chord. This is a diminished chord. Again, because of the absence of the first and the fifth, these are not really standard used chords. So why I explain these chords is because when you come to actual chord arrangement, which is the arrangement theory that we'll be covering in the next class, you will notice the importance of these chords. Even if they're used just for a second or just as a transition, they lend a lot of perspective to your otherwise stable chords that are the backbone of the song. So again, using the backbone and then adding these small embellishments, that's what makes an arrangement rich. So we'll see you in the next class, which is about arrangement theory. Thank you.